Picture this. You're in a room full of people. The energy is normal, casual, light. Then, someone says something about you. A sentence, just one, and suddenly your body reacts before your mind does. Your chest tightens, your neck heats up. Your awareness collapses inward. Everyone is watching. In that moment, you think the danger is the insult. It's not. The danger is what you're about to do next. Because the second you react, you lose. Today, I'm going to show you why shame is not an emotion. It's a social weapon, and how powerful people have learned to reverse it, quietly, surgically, without ever raising their voice. By the end of this video, you won't fear disrespect. You'll recognize it as an invitation. When someone tries to shame you, your brain doesn't hear words, it hears danger. Your nervous system treats public humiliation as a survival threat, because for most of human history, it was. Being shamed meant being pushed out of the tribe, and being pushed out meant death. So your biology kicks in. Fight, flee, explain, apologize. This is why most people lose instantly. In modern social hierarchies, the person who reacts emotionally is the person with less power, and the person who initiated the shame knows this. They are betting on your biology. Here's the truth most people never see. Shame is never about you. No secure, fulfilled, powerful person needs to humiliate someone else. People shame when they feel threatened by your presence, your confidence, your potential, or simply your refusal to play small. When someone attacks you publicly, they are exposing their own insecurity. They are admitting that you matter enough to be neutralized. Once you understand this, something changes. The heat in your body fades. You stop feeling targeted, and you start observing. And the observer is the most dangerous person in the room. Most people cannot tolerate silence. When an insult lands, there's a psychological vacuum, and humans are wired to fill it. They laugh nervously, they defend, they explain. The Machiavellian mind does the opposite. They let the silence expand. Not the silence of fear, but the silence of evaluation. You remain still, your face neutral, your eyes steady. No smile, no anger, no reaction. 3 seconds is all it takes. In those seconds, the attention shifts. The audience stops watching you and starts watching the attacker, because now they're uncomfortable. They expected resistance. They got nothing, and nothing is terrifying. Eventually, you speak, but you don't defend. Defense is submission. Instead, you reframe. They say, "You really messed that up." You pause, look at them calmly, and say, "Are you okay?" Or, "That was a strange thing to say out loud." Now the conversation isn't about your mistake, it's about their behavior. You are calm, they are emotional, and the one who appears emotional loses status instantly. Sometimes the attack is partially true, and that's where people panic. Instead, you lean into it. They say, "You're arrogant." You smile. "I know, it helps." They say, "You don't know what you're doing." "I never do." Somehow it still works. When you agree with an insult, you remove its power. Shame only works when you're hiding from yourself. When you're not ashamed, no one can shame you. Shame is a performance. The attacker doesn't want to defeat you, they want the audience. So stop fighting them, win the room, remain composed, speak slowly, move less. People instinctively follow stability. And when you stay grounded while someone else spirals, the crowd shifts. Without saying a word, power never needs applause. Some people feed on reaction. With them, even clever responses are fuel, so you erase them. They speak, you continue as if nothing happened. No eye contact, no pause, no acknowledgement. This isn't silent treatment, this is non-existence. And biologically, being ignored is more painful than being attacked. They will escalate. Let them. The louder they get, the more unstable they appear, and you, unbothered. None of this works if you secretly believe their opinion matters. Shame hurts because you've outsourced your self-worth. Machiavelli didn't speak of virtue, he spoke of virtu, inner strength, self-reliance, self-knowledge. If you know who you are, words can't touch you. A lion doesn't argue when called a mouse. Face your flaws, accept them. The moment you stop hiding, you become untouchable. After this, you won't enter rooms hoping people like you. You'll enter rooms deciding who deserves access to you. Shame only works on the uncertain, and you're not uncertain anymore. The next time someone tries to make you small, smile. You're no longer the prey. You're the trap.
There is a moment in every social attack that decides everything. It's not the insult, it's not the words, it's the split second right after. That's where most people panic. They rush to protect their image because deep down they believe their image is fragile. And that belief is what gets exploited. The attacker isn't strong, they're observant. They know humans are addicted to approval. They know silence feels like death. They know you want to fix the tension. So they poke, not to destroy you, but to make you move. Because movement reveals weakness, stillness hides power. When you don't react, something unnatural happens. The social script breaks. People are used to cause and effect. Insult equals response. When the response doesn't come, the brain panics. Not yours, theirs. And more importantly, the audience's. Because now no one knows how to interpret what just happened. Was it a joke? Was it aggression? Was it embarrassing? Uncertainty spreads, and uncertainty always favors the person who looks calm. That's why your body language matters more than your words. Relaxed shoulders signal dominance, slow blinking signals confidence, minimal movement signals control. Predators don't twitch, prey does. Most people talk themselves into trouble because they believe talking equals strength. It doesn't. Talking is often compensation. Real authority doesn't announce itself, it assumes. And assumption is powerful. When someone tries to belittle you and you remain grounded, you force them into a psychological dilemma. If they escalate, they look unstable. If they retreat, they look weak. Either way, they lose status. And here's the part nobody teaches you. People don't remember who was right. They remember who felt solid. The human brain associates emotional stability with leadership. That's why crowds instinctively side with the calm one, even if they don't consciously realize it. Your job isn't to win the argument. Your job is to win the emotional frame. Once you control the frame, words are irrelevant. At this level, disrespect stops feeling personal. It starts feeling predictable because you recognize the pattern. Insecurity tries to dominate. Dominance stays quiet, and the quiet always wins. There's a dangerous misunderstanding about confidence. Most people think confidence is loud, or aggressive, or charismatic. It's not. Confidence is non-reactivity. It's the absence of urgency. Urgency is what exposes need, and need is what others attack. Shame only works on people who are still negotiating their self-worth. If you're unsure of yourself, insults feel like verdicts. If you're grounded in yourself, insults feel like noise. That shift doesn't happen socially. It happens internally. This is where the real work begins. You ask yourself uncomfortable questions. Why does this bother me? What am I afraid they'll see? What part of me still needs approval? Because whatever you refuse to face in private will be dragged into the light by others. People can only shame what you're hiding. Once you accept your flaws fully, something strange happens. They lose their leverage. You stop being defensive because there's nothing to defend. You already know who you are. And when you know who you are, external opinions lose authority. They become optional. That's when you stop performing. You don't try to sound impressive. You don't try to be liked. You don't try to correct misunderstandings. You let people misunderstand you. Powerful people are misunderstood all the time. They don't chase clarity. They let others reveal themselves. And that's when indifference becomes natural, not forced. You don't ignore people to punish them. You ignore them because they don't register. This is where most people fail. They try to act indifferent while still caring. That leaks. True indifference is quiet. It doesn't need to prove anything. When someone realizes they can't get a reaction from you, panic sets in. Because attention is currency, and you just cut off supply. They may escalate, mock harder, push further. Let them. Every extra effort makes them look smaller, while you remain unchanged. This is the final psychological inversion. They are working hard to affect you. You are doing nothing, and effort always exposes desperation. At this point, shame no longer feels like a threat. It feels like confirmation. Confirmation that you are solid enough to provoke, that you occupy space, that you matter. And once you reach this level, you stop fearing social attacks entirely. Because you understand the truth most people never learn. Shame isn't power. Reaction is. And you don't give it away anymore. Most people misunderstand humiliation. They think it's emotional. It's not. It's strategic. When someone tries to embarrass you in public, they're not trying to hurt your feelings. They're testing a boundary. They're asking a primitive question the human brain asks automatically: can I step higher by pushing you lower? Social hierarchies are invisible, but they're constantly being negotiated. Every joke, every comment, every interruption. And shame is one of the fastest ways to test rank. Here's what matters most. Not what they say, but what happens inside you before you respond. Your shoulders tighten, your breathing changes, your eyes react. That micro moment tells the attacker everything. It tells them whether you're solid or soft. Most people collapse inward without realizing it. They try to be polite. They try to smooth things over. They try to laugh it off. And that's interpreted as permission. Once permission is given, pressure increases. That's why some people are targeted repeatedly. Not because they're weak people, but because their nervous system broadcasts availability. Now here's the shift. The moment you stop yielding space, something changes. You don't need to intimidate. You don't need to dominate. You simply stop adjusting yourself to accommodate disrespect. Your body stays where it is. Your tone doesn't change. Your pace stays slow. That sends a signal deeper than words. It tells the other person, escalation will cost you. Humans are not brave. They are calculating. When the cost rises, behavior changes. And once someone senses that humiliating you destabilizes their own position, they retreat, not dramatically, quietly, which is the only kind of victory that matters. There is a level beyond silence, beyond indifference. It's called selective engagement. Most people engage with everything. Every comment, every opinion, every provocation. That makes them predictable. And predictability is easy to control. Powerful people don't respond to everything. They choose. Attention is not free. Attention is currency. When you give someone your attention, you elevate them. When you remove it, you demote them. Now here's where it gets interesting. Total ignoring works on some people. but on others, it creates chaos. The most effective move is partial acknowledgement. You briefly register their presence. Then you disengage. That short recognition followed by withdrawal creates psychological imbalance. Because the brain hates unfinished interactions. They start wondering, did I say something wrong? Did I go too far? Why didn't that work? Their focus shifts inward. They become self-conscious, and self-conscious people lose power fast. Meanwhile, you move on, calm, unchanged, unaffected. They try again, harder this time, and that effort exposes them, because effort signals need, and need is weakness. You don't attack them. You let them exhaust themselves trying to reach you. This is psychological starvation, not cruelty, efficiency. At this level, you don't manage people. You manage access. Who gets your energy? Who gets your reaction? Who gets nothing? And people feel this instinctively. They adjust their behavior around you without knowing why. They speak more carefully. They interrupt less. They test less. Because uncertainty makes people cautious. This is where shame loses all power. Because shame requires engagement, and you've become selective with yours. At this point, you're no longer reacting to the social environment. You're shaping it. And most people never realize how it happened. They just know one thing. They don't try you anymore. Most people think respect is something others choose to give you. It's not. Respect is something people feel forced into when your presence disrupts their expectations. Every time you enter a room, something happens instantly. Before you speak, before you move, before anyone consciously thinks, people scan you for signals. Are you seeking approval? Are you scanning for reactions? Are you adjusting yourself to fit the room? Or are you already grounded? That split second determines how they treat you for the rest of the interaction. Humans don't consciously rank each other. They sense it. And the strongest signal of value is self-containment. When someone looks emotionally self-sufficient, others hesitate to challenge them because there's nothing to grab onto. No insecurity to press, no urgency to exploit. That's why people who talk less often carry more weight. Not because silence is magical, but because silence suggests internal completeness. Needy people fill space, complete people don't. Now here's the uncomfortable truth. Most disrespect happens because someone senses you're managing how you're perceived. They feel the effort. They smell the performance, and performance invites critique. The moment you stop performing, the dynamic flips. You don't try to impress. You don't try to defend. You don't try to control how you're seen. You let others interpret you incorrectly, and that drives them insane. Because ambiguity is threatening. The human brain hates uncertainty. When people can't categorize you, they become cautious. They don't know how to approach you. They don't know how far they can go. So they default to restraint. This is where power quietly forms, not through force, not through dominance, through unreadability. When your emotions are not obvious, people project onto you. They assume confidence. They assume authority. They assume depth, and assumptions guide behavior. You didn't demand respect. You allowed them to create it themselves. This is why the most powerful people often seem boring, calm, even indifferent. They're not trying to hold attention, they're holding themselves. And that's magnetic. At this level, you don't need to react to disrespect, because it rarely shows up anymore. And when it does, it feels strange, almost irrelevant, like a child testing a boundary they already know exists. You don't correct them. You don't punish them. You simply remain where you are, and they adjust. That's the final shift, when people stop trying to define you and start adjusting themselves around you. That's when you know you're no longer playing the social game, you're setting its gravity. There comes a moment that quietly changes everything. Not in front of an audience, not during some dramatic confrontation, but in a simple interaction. Someone says something meant to shrink you, a comment designed to put you back in your place. And for a split second, the old reflex tries to wake up. The urge to explain, the urge to correct, the urge to defend who you are. But it doesn't fully activate, because there's nothing left to protect. That's when you realize something has ended. For most of your life, shame worked because you were still negotiating your value. You wanted to be understood. You wanted to be seen correctly. You wanted approval, even if you pretended you didn't. And those wants created openings. People stepped into them. But somewhere along the way, without making a big decision about it, you stopped asking. You faced the parts of yourself you used to hide. Your failures, your flaws, your contradictions. You didn't fix all of them. You didn't become perfect. You just accepted them. And once you accept yourself, exposure loses its power. That's when you see shame for what it really is. Not truth, not morality, control, a tool insecure people use to stabilize themselves by destabilizing others. They don't want to correct you. They want to position themselves above you. And once you see that, their words stop feeling personal. They feel predictable. You start noticing patterns, how the loudest critics are often the most fragile. How humiliation increases when someone feels irrelevant. How shame is almost always a response to fear. Fear of being overlooked. Fear of losing status. Fear of not mattering. This awareness changes your behavior. You stop reacting emotionally. You stop rushing to explain. You stop performing for the room. Not because you're trying to be dominant, but because your nervous system no longer belongs to the room. It belongs to you, and that changes how people respond to you. They interrupt less, they test less, they watch more, subscribe. If you've felt people change without you saying a word,